What is going on, everybody? I am back today to talk about a movie that has been out for a few weeks now that I've actually been really excited to watch. And that is because this film is directed by Mike Flanagan. And I've talked about Mike multiple times on my channel. Mike is one of my favorite current working directors. I love his work. I think Mike has done something really incredible in his career where he typically utilizes horror as his genre of choice, but somehow manages to tell incredibly intimate, beautiful stories about these characters that he always manages to write and get the most out of. And obviously, I feel like Mike's most well known for his long form television series on Netflix, whether that's Haunting of Hill House, Haunting of Bly Manor, Midnight Mass. A lot of the shows that he's done there, most recently Fall of the House of Usher. And those are some of my favorite pieces of horror media made in the past 20, 30 years. Like, just truly remarkable stuff. But Mike also has a really phenomenal catalog when it comes to feature length films. And I feel like he's really kind of stuck to horror through most of his career. And The Life of Chuck, the movie I'm going to be talking about today, is a Stephen King adaptation, but it's not a horror movie. It definitely more aligns with, there's some science fiction aspects to it. It gets a little surreal in moments, but it's mostly a character drama. And I was really interested to see, because I know Mike, prior to doing horror films, did work in drama a little bit. So I was curious to see, because obviously he's great at writing characters, great at discussing, empathy and the human condition in a way that I think works really well. And I'm excited to tell you about this movie today. The Life of Chuck is directed by Mike Flanagan, and this extraordinary tale of an ordinary man, Charles Chuck Krantz, experiences the wonder of love, the heartbreak of loss, and the multitudes contained in all of us. So I was really excited to watch this movie. Like I said, it's a bit of a departure for Mike in his normal line of doing horror, to do a more straightforward drama that has some science fiction surrealist elements to it. And what I will say is, this is one of my favorite things I've watched this year. I thought that it was remarkable. I thought it was incredibly beautiful. And I think it really aligns with what I said in the beginning of the video about Mike's work, which is that when he wants to tell a really beautiful story about human beings and showcase empathy and understanding when it comes to the daily struggles of people and like the horrible things that we have to deal with, and the strive to persevere and try to make it through amidst a lot of the terrors that are presented to us. I just thought that it was really resonant and beautiful. There's a lot of really long monologues in this movie, as per Mike Flanagan's usual, that are just layered with lots of great bits of dialogue that really make you think. And he obviously gets really incredible performances out of his actors, and I'm looking forward to telling you a little bit about it today. I don't want to give too much away in case you're interested in watching this movie, but all you need to know is the central focus of this film is Chuck, or Charles Krantz, played by Tom Hiddleston. And this movie is told in a non-linear narrative in 3 acts, with the acts playing out backwards. And I don't want to get too much into each and every detail of the story, but he is the central focal point, and the fate of the universe essentially lies in this man. And we see him throughout different periods of his life. We see him with the people that he interacts with when he's a young kid, being raised by his grandparents, when he's an adult and married and has children, and the people who are kind of surrounding him in his life. And we're just watching this singular character and his experiences, and how certain circumstances in his life have shaped him in the way that he thinks. So like I said, I thought this movie was incredibly remarkable, and it really moved me a lot. I cried multiple times through this movie, and I've seen mixed reviews for this movie, to say the least. There's some people that absolutely hated it and said that it's overly sentimental and sappy. There's people like me that think it's incredibly well written and very thoughtful. And I think, there's this issue in the world now. And I feel like people are so incredibly just jaded and upset with the state of the world, that if something is made that has a more positive outlook or a joyful tone, it can often be looked upon as corny and insincere. And I think this movie is the complete and total opposite of that. I think this movie has a genuine sincerity that bleeds through in its dialogue. And there's a number of reasons why I feel that this movie is sincere, but to start with the biggest positive of this film, which is the positive to most of Flanagan's work, is he gets the most out of his actors. There are some incredible performances in this movie from multiple actors, even ones that aren't in the film for very long. there's a ton of familiar faces in this movie, along with some new people that show up in this. But I was just completely blown away by a lot of the dialogue that was delivered from these actors. I feel like, Tom Hiddleston, he doesn't have a ton of dialogue in this movie, but when he is in the film, he is absolutely incredible. Mark Hamill, while he's in the movie, is really great. Chiwetel Ejiofor, who I absolutely love and have really been a fan of his entire career, is great in this. Gillan does a really nice job. And there are just a ton of actors and actresses in this that get the opportunity to have these longer form monologues that, even if they're only in it for a 5 or 6 minute scene, there's a scene with Matthew Lillard really early on in the movie that I thought he did a really fantastic job as well. Like, just anytime one of these actors showed up on screen, they were really just giving it their all. And I loved that about the movie. I thought it worked incredibly well. As per Flanagan's usual, it's incredibly well shot. I feel like he pays a lot of attention to detail in his cinematography, how he frames certain things. And this wasn't necessarily color graded or shot exactly the same as some of his horror properties, but I think it works for what it's going for. And I think there's some interesting editing moments in this, and the way that certain information is conveyed to you, especially when it comes to the surreal, abstract sort of tone that the movie conveys in moments. The way it's presented, I thought it worked really well, and I enjoyed that element of the film too. And I really liked the musical choices in this film as well. I've seen some people complain and say that it's used really heavy handed, but I didn't think so. I feel like it gave the movie a very grand feeling. I feel like the music just kind of accompanied the very important message that the movie was trying to convey. And like I said, this is a movie, it's difficult to talk about in detail without spoiling a lot because of how it plays out and the way certain characters are introduced. And so I don't want to get into that because I think this is a really great movie to kind of just jump into and watch and consume for what it is. But what I do want to say about this movie is I talked about this in a video recently where I discussed a film on Shudder called Best Wishes to All, which is a new horror movie that's on there that focuses on the idea of happiness. And I think this movie, in turn, sort of focuses on the same idea. It's looking at a character who has dealt with a lot of horrible things in his life, that he lost his parents incredibly early on, living with his grandparents. There's some circumstances surrounding them that have caused him a lot of emotional trauma. He deals with health issues later on in his life. And there are a ton of horrible things presented to this character that could make him jaded and horrible and just hate his life for what it is. But he tries to grab a hold on to the brief moments of joy and happiness that he is given and that is presented to him. And the movie really kind of starts out with what is very reflective of the current world that we're living in, especially in the United States of America, when you look at just how horrible this country is and how much the people in charge don't care about their people. They don't care about the well being of the general person. The Republicans in this country just voted to take away Medicaid from most of the people who voted for them. Like, they don't care about you as a human being. Most politicians don't care about you. And so it's very dour and saddening times that we live in right now, where the human being is not being treated as a person, they're treated as a cog that just exists. And so when things are that dour and every corner you look around just seems to be filled with depressing, anxiety inducing information, it can be really hard to grab a hold on to those positive moments. And what Flanagan is doing here is trying to showcase to people that no matter where you are in a specific moment in your life, that you need to take a step back and think about just the improbability of you getting the ability to exist, and that when those moments of joy are being presented to you, that you need to try and grab a hold onto those and appreciate them while you can, because they don't exist forever. Like, your life, the movie does a really great job kind of painting a picture of how expansive the universe is and how long it's kind of taken human beings to get to this point to even exist, and how much time has existed before them and how much time will exist after we're long dead and gone. And so those moments, whatever brief seconds or minutes or hours that you get to appreciate those joyful times, are so incredibly important. And I was just very moved by that as someone who suffers from really intense depression and anxiety that can feel all consuming in a lot of moments, when you do get those moments that you get to experience joy and gratitude for life, even if it's just a fleeting thing that might seem silly or not important at the time. I think it's incredibly important to try to grab a hold onto those things and appreciate them so that we can enjoy the opportunity that we're given. And I think Flanagan showcases that in a way that really moved me a lot through all three acts of this film. And there's just so many incredible, like, one, obviously, if you've seen the trailer, involves this dance scene with Tom Hiddleston's character. And I thought, like, something so simple that can speak volumes to something so much larger is just a testament to really great filmmaking. And I loved this a lot. It's one of my favorite things I've watched this year. I think Mike is truly a special human being. I love his work. I think he's so incredibly talented. And it was really neat to see him take a Stephen King property that he obviously loves Stephen King's work. He's worked on multiple Stephen King projects at this point, but bringing something completely different to the table by kind of leaving horror for a while and doing something more in the just straightforward dramatic category. And I loved this, and I think that if any of this sounds interesting to you, please watch and support it because it's really great. So have you seen The Life of Chuck? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Leave me a comment down below and let me know what you thought. I thought this movie was fantastic. I really enjoyed it a lot, and I can't wait to see it again. And as always, everyone, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm always putting out new material and look forward to getting more out for you in the near future. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.